Already started, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So today's topic is domain naming system. Okay, domain naming system, we also call it as DNS. Okay, so DNS means it is one of the service in the Microsoft. Or okay, so what it will do, it will try to, I mean, see, we are all human beings, right? For us, it is always easier to remember the names, but it is very difficult to remember the numbers. Okay, so and and parallelly computers, right? Computers will not understand the names string, they will not understand, they will understand the numbers, zeros and ones. So here both are difficult, correct now? So what we have done to come over this issue, what we have done, we have created a service called domain naming system. Okay, we also call it as DNS, and this DNS works on the port number 53, which is UDP. I'll explain in the next slide what is the port number and why it is UDP. All those things I'll explain you in the upcoming slides. Okay, so what it will do, so DNS is a service. What we will do inside it, say for example, there is a computer and the computer name is server 01. So for us, it is easier to remember the name called server 01. Okay, and that server 01 has got one IP address. Say for example, 192.168.1.100. Okay, if it is one or two or maximum 10 machines, that's okay, no problem. 1 to 10 IP address we can remember. Imagine you have 10,000, 20,000 servers in the domain. Okay, is it easy to remember the numbers? No, it is not easy to remember the numbers. That is why this DNS will play a major role here. So what we will do, we will create a name we will create a record. Okay, that record tells there is a computer, the name of some computer or a server is server 01, and the corresponding IP address is like 192.168.1.100. So whenever you try to browse anything in the browser, okay, you go to the www dot Google Chrome, you will open and you will try to go to the browser and type http://server 01, hit enter. That query, if you remember, in the network interface card we have defined the DNS address, correct, right? The query will go to the DNS server, and in the DNS server console you have multiple zones. Zones means they are the storage area where you can keep the records, store the records with respect to the separate network, okay, or the subnet. So what it will do, the DNS, whenever you try to browse server01.com, server 01, hit enter, the query will go to the DNS server, and the DNS server will go and check in the DNS server service inside the server manager, and it will look for the server 01. Yes, if that finds a record called server 01, it is already having an IP address associated, then it will respond back that IP address to you. Okay, this complete cycle we call it as resolution. Okay, I'll explain you in the next slide. It is very graphically mentioned, you will be able to understand. So basically, domain naming system means it is a service which will help you to resolve host name to IP address and vice versa. Okay, you see here, it's a protocol or a service will be used to resolve the fully qualified domain name into an IP address and vice versa. Okay, if you see here, okay, if you see here, so today you have logged into your computer, which is your PC, okay, and you will type here, you will facebook.com. So what happens, the query in this computer, in the network interface card, you have defined the DNS address, the preferred DNS and the alternate DNS, correct, right? So whatever is there in the first place, the preferred DNS, okay, this computer will just go and ask that preferred DNS, okay. When you type www.facebook.com, the request will come here and it will look, check in the preferred DNS server zones, primary zone, secondary zone, tertiary or stub zone. Okay, it will go there and it will just look for the facebook.com address. I mean record. If the record is there, see here, if you see the preferred DNS server, can you see this preferred DNS server here? This is the preferred DNS server. If you remember yesterday's class, that is 192.168.90.50 is my.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Is it for everyone?
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Not
Not
Yes,
audible.
sir.
audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 second. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Guys, is it better now?
Yes, sir.
1 second, let me switch the internet. Okay, so now I was just explaining, right, how the query will be getting resolved. Definitely this question will be asked in the interview. Okay, can you please explain me how the DNS query will happen? Okay, means whenever you go to browser and type www.facebook.com, you will quickly get the website. You only know that whenever I hit enter, you get a website. But behind the scene, what will happen? Okay, you should very much understand this one. Okay, so what happens when you go to browser and type www.facebook.com? If you remember, we have entered the in the network interface card this preferred DNS server. And okay, so we have entered this preferred DNS server, correct? Na? This is our preferred DNS server. And yesterday we have also added the alternate DNS server. So one minimum DNS server should be one DNS server should be there in the client computer. If there is no DNS server, you cannot browse the internet because you type facebook.com, the computer will not understand the name, right? It will just say page cannot be displayed. So what happens when you go to www.facebook, enter www.facebook.com and hit enter? In the network interface card, you have your preferred DNS server, right? So the query will go and check in the preferred DNS server. Okay, so let me go back there, like here. So say for example, this is your preferred DNS server, which is your DC01. Okay. So when you log into this, when you 1 minute, okay. So administrator password is password at the rate 123. Okay. So imagine you have kept this 192.168.190.50 as your preferred DNS server. Okay, that means the query will just come and look for this. Go to the tools and open the DNS, and it will just come and look for the record. Is there any record called facebook.com? See here, it will go to the DC01, and you have here forward zone and reverse lookup zone. Okay, so forward lookup zone means it is resolving name to IP address. Reverse lookup means resolving IP address to name back. Okay, so in the Microsoft.com, okay, it will just look for the web, what is that, record. See, I told you, right, in the browser, if you say DC01, it will just look for the DC01 record in the preferred DNS server forward lookup zone, and it will come here and it will check, yes, there is a server, a record called DC01, and the corresponding address is 192.168.190.50. Okay, then from here it will learn the IP address of that particular website, and then it will just talk to the website and get the website there. Okay, this is how this will resolve. Sometimes what happens, you may not see the record in the preferred DNS server. Okay, in the preferred DNS server, you may not get the particular record. That's when the query will getting forwarded to the alternate DNS server. Okay, that 192.168.190.60. Yesterday I have added, right, ADC01. So the query will go there, and there are possibilities of it is getting the resolution. Okay, what? The particular record called facebook.com would be present there. So what happened if the record is available there, then it will not directly give the response back to your PC. So what happens, this will just send the response back to the person who forwarded the query to that computer, which is preferred DNS server, stating that I have a domain called facebook.com and the IP address is 1.2.3.4, for example. So then what happens, this preferred DNS server will send the response back to the computer stating that you were looking for a record called facebook.com and please find this is the IP address of the computer or the website 1.2.3.4. Okay, so this is how the query happens. So if somebody asks you how the DNS resolution happens, this picture has to come to your mind. The PC will just go to the browser, the user will go to the browser and type a username, sorry, a website name or a domain name, www.facebook.com. Then the query will go to the network interface card. It will identify what is my preferred DNS server. So from there, the query forward to that particular preferred DNS server, and in the preferred DNS server, it will just verify the available DNS records in the DNS console. If the query is available, it will forward. If the query is not available in that preferred DNS server, then the query will be keep on forward into the next alternative server. Okay, so this is what we call it as iterative and recursive. In the next file, in the next slide, you can see. See here, there are two types of resolutions. Okay, queries. Sorry, three types of queries in the DNS. Okay, like say for example, you are logging into a computer now. Okay, and you want to browse something. Okay, say for example you want to apply for the passport. You need to log into the passport seva kendra website. Okay, you log into the computer and type www.passportsevakendra. Okay, so then what happens, you need to know the IP address, right? Because computer will not know the name, it will understand only the IP address. So what happens, that request will go to the preferred DNS server. Here, this is your preferred DNS server. This is your preferred DNS server. Imagine if this preferred DNS itself will fulfill your request. I mean, that preferred DNS itself knows what is the IP address of this Passport Seva Kendra website. Then the request is getting fulfilled at the first attempt itself. Correct? Na? So that kind of query we call it as iterative query. Means the query is getting resolved or fulfilled at the first iteration itself. Such thing we call it as iterative query. Okay, and then sometimes what happens, the preferred DNS may not, I mean, it may not know the particular website IP address, or it may not find the record for that Passport Seva Kendra website. What happens, it will tell I don't know the information of that, but I have a friend called alternate DNS server. I can forward your query to that particular friend. So what happens, the query will be getting forwarded from the preferred DNS server to the alternate DNS server. Okay, so then what happens, the query is getting keep on forwarding, means the query is getting reoccurring, right? So here is one query, this is one query, and this loop is the preferred DNS which is forwarding to the alternate DNS, so that is one query. So here the queries are reoccurring. Okay, so then the alternate DNS server checks in the domain, in the pool or in the zone. It will, yes, it finds the address resolution for that. Then what it will do, it will just send the information to the preferred DNS server, and preferred DNS will send back to this to the computer. Here the queries keep on forwarding. The computer send the query to the preferred DNS, and the preferred DNS send the query to the alternate DNS server. Okay, so here the loop, in the loop the resolution or the query is getting forwarded. Okay, no matter it is 2, 3 or 4, if the query is getting forwarded to next nearby DNS server, right? So such query we call it as recursive query. See, if the query is getting reoccur, if the query is getting keep on forward into the next nearby server till it gets the result, such resolution we call it as recursive query resolution. Okay, and the last one is inverse query. Okay, so I told you there are three types of queries. One is iterative query, recursive query, the last one is inverse query. See here, If you see iterative query, it says if the query is resolved at the first ask or the first iteration itself, we call it as iterative. So recursive query means if the query keeps on forwarding to the next nearby DNS server until it gets the response or until it gets the query fulfilled, we call it as recursive query. Okay, and then inverse query. The third one is inverse query. So inverse query means no matter whether the query is iterative or recursive, if you are trying to resolve an IP to host name, means reverse. All this time what you are doing, you are entering the name and looking for the IP address. But in the inverse it is not like that. You will enter the IP address, but you would like to know a name of the computer. Okay, so that's the reason. If the query is inverse, like if you are trying to resolve something from the IP address to host name, no matter whether the query is iterative or recursive, such query we call it as inverse query. Clear? This is clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that is the, I mean, now you learned about what is DNS, okay, and how the DNS resolution will happen, correct na? And how many types of queries are there in the DNS, okay, and then types of resolutions now, okay. Now we learned two things. One is DNS and how the resolution happens, and then in the resolution how many types of queries we have. There were two types of queries, but in the resolution we have two types of resolution. One is forward lookup, another one is reverse lookup. Just few minutes back I told you, right? Forward lookup means you have your host name, you would like to resolve the IP address, means you have the host name but you would like to know the IP address of it. Such lookups we call it as forward lookup. Reverse lookup means you have the IP address and you want to know what exactly the name of that particular IP address. Then such resolutions we call it as reverse lookup. Clear? Let me pause it here. Any question here?
No, sir.
So that's all. So three things. Okay. So three things here as of now. Before I move to the next one. Now you know DNS. DNS means it's a service which will be used to resolve host name to IP address and vice versa. And how the DNS resolution happens. If somebody asks you, you have to tell whenever the user logs into the computer and go to the browser and type www.facebook.com or any website for that matter, the first thing it will go and check for the ID, I mean that particular record in the host file and the DNS cache. If that is not available, then the query will keep on forwarding to the preferred DNS server, and it will look for the possible entry there. If the record is available, it will give us response. If there is no record found, then the query will be keep on forwarding to the alternate DNS server. Okay, and the queries keep on forwarding till it gets the better result. Okay, then there are three types of queries. One is iterative, recursive, another one is inverse. Iterative means if the whenever the client asks for an name resolution, if it gets resolved at the first attempt, we call it as iterative. If the query is getting fulfilled at the first ask or the first iteration, that we call it as iterative query. And recursive means if the queries keep on forwarding from one DNS server to another DNS server, such thing we call it as recursive. Then the last one is inverse. Inverse means no matter whether the query is iterative or recursive, if you are trying to resolve an IP address to host name, such resolutions or such query we call it as inverse. Okay, now you learned about three queries. Now we have two types of resolution. One is forward lookup resolution, another one is reverse lookup resolution. Resolution means what? You are changing from one value to another value. So here you have host name. You would like to know the IP address of the host, that particular host. That we call it as forward lookup. Reverse lookup means you have a IP address, you would like to know the name of the particular IP address. Okay, that is called as reverse lookup. Now there are one more thing we call it as DNS zones. So I just previously I was explaining, right? Zone means it is a storage area. Like you have when you go to your kitchen at home, you have multiple. If it is a modern kitchen, whatever kitchen, okay, you have multiple shelves, correct? Huh? Maybe in first shelf you may keep the things whatever you regularly use. Second one little maybe very rarely used. The last top one may be very, I mean, occasionally used. So such kind of segregation will be there. In the DNS it's also like that only. Primary zone, secondary zone, and stub zone. Okay, there are three zones are there in the DNS. Okay, the first one is primary zone, second one is secondary zone, third one is stub zone. So primary zone means it is the very first DNS, okay, which hold all the records. So DNS has got multiple types of records. Okay, you have A record, NS record, MX record, and SRV record, okay, SOA record. There are multiple types of records. No matter you name it what, all kind of records are available in the primary zone. Okay, and it is an authoritative zone, means if you want to get resolve an IP address to host name, okay, if it is find the IP address or if it is having the record in the primary zone, it will just respond you back. Means it will tell, yes, I have this person. This is the IP address of this person. Yes, this is the IP host name of this particular IP address. So it is responding back. That one we call it as authoritative. Okay, and you can create the records, you can even delete the records, you can even modify the records in the primary zone. Okay, but secondary zone, it is the same, I mean, it is the copy of the primary, but it will only have the read only permission. Okay, whatever records are present in the primary zone, in the secondary zone also you have all the records, but you have only read only permission. You cannot edit a, say for example, today the computer was there, the computer name is server 01, and the IP address of that was 192.168.1.100. So tomorrow the IP address got changed to 100.2 190.200. You cannot edit the DNS record and just remove the 100 and put it 200. That is not possible in the secondary zone, because the secondary zone is read only copy. Then the final is stub zone. Stub zone means it is also copy of the primary zone, okay, but it will not have all the records. The stub zone will only have three kinds of records. One is A record. A means host record. For all the computer, for all the servers, for all the domains, we will create a record called A record. I'll show you after this. And NS record means it is name service record. If you have a DNS server, you have a NS record. See here, if you go to the DC01, see here, uh, see here the name server NS record. Can you see here name server NS? Can you see guys here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, means in the DC01, see in the DC01 we have installed the DNS. That is the reason to identify, yes, in the DC01 we have the DNS installed. It creates a record called NS, name server. Okay, and the name of the computer is here. See, okay, that is how the record will be created for all the name servers. Say for example, in your environment you have 35 DNS servers. All the 35 DNS entry will be available here. And I told you A record means it's a computer and the server. Correct? Huh? See here, DC01, you have A record. Now you have, say for example, you have PC01 here. Okay, so PC01, let me see what is the IP address of that. You guys are following me? Is it fast today? Little bit? Hmm?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. See now, I would like to check the IP address of this computer, and I ran a command called ipconfig, and I could see the IP address is 192.168.111.131. Okay. Say for example, the IP address is 192.168.111.131. But in the DNS, maybe I might create a wrong one. See, when you right click on this, see this is by Microsoft.com is there, that is your forward lookup zone, and it's a primary zone. Right click on the Microsoft.com, go to properties, okay, and it will tell you, it will tell you this is the primary zone. In fact, this is the very first zone, right? That is why we call it as primary zone. Okay, so now let me right click on this zone, and if you right click, you see a lot of options. You create a record or a triple A record. A means it is IP version 4, AA means it is IP version 6. Okay, and alias name, mail server, okay, all those things are there. Now let me right click on the zone, primary zone, and create new host. Okay, now let me create the PC01. I mean, I would like to create. See, before that, I would like to show you something. Okay, CMD, I'll go and I will try to look up PC01. I have a computer now with the name called PC01. Let me check if I can get what is the IP address of that computer PC01. See, see ns lookup is a command, guys. So if you run ns lookup space the computer name or the IP address, if you want to name, you can put the IP address. If you want to IP address, put the name. Okay. Say for example, now you have PC01. You want to know what is IP address. What you have to do, you have to go to command prompt and run a command called ns lookup space PC01 and you hit enter. So what it will do, it will just come here. It came here where in the DNS, because in the preferred DNS this is the IP address we have given. But here it see there is no record called PC01. Correct? Huh? Say for example, now I have DC01. What I will do, instead of PC, I will make DC. See, it will give you the response. DC01. See, it is giving the response. What is the response? dc0.microsoft.com is 190.50. Correct? Now see here, it is 190.50. Where is that dc01.com? Here, dc01.microsoft.com. That is 190.50. That's it correct. Now, since I am not getting the resolution for the PC01, I just come and check here. I just came here and check what has happened. There is no record found. Now I want to create a record. This is my primary zone. Remember, right click and say new host or a record. What is the name of the PC? PC01. Correct? And I will just try to give 192.168.190.111. Okay. So add host. It says successfully added the host. Now you see, if my DNS is now come and query this DNS primary zone, it can find a record called PC01. See, you can see a record called PC01 here, and the associated IP address is 190.111. So now let me go to the DNS clear screen and run the same PC01 ns lookup space PC01 and you hit enter. Now this will be able to resolve to my IP address. See, I just created a record now. See, same thing is there. Here PC01, it's a record and IP address is 192.168.190.11. Same thing it is coming here. Are you able to grasp it? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
Yes, sir.
that is how the resolution. Now let me do PC01. I know the IP. Sorry, I know the name. Okay, I can just resolve to the IP address. Sometime what happens, you may don't know the name, but you know the IP address, and you would like to resolve to the name 192.168. and 190.11. You know the name. Sorry, you know the IP address, but you would like to know the name. So this is called reverse lookup. Let me hit enter, and it says no record found. See, request timed out. DNS request timed out means it is not finding a reverse lookup record because the forward lookups are presenting in the primary zone. Okay, forward lookup. In the forward lookup zone, you can only see the forward lookup entry. If you want to see the reverse lookup, what you have to do, you have to click on the reverse lookup. But in the reverse lookup, see, there is no zones added. Now let me quickly create a reverse lookup zone. Right click on the DNS zone, create a new zone, say next. Here it is asking, I just told you, na, primary zone, secondary zone, and stub zone. So let me have the primary zone only. Okay, say next. This is by default. This is IP version v4. Yes. And what is the IP range? 192.168.190.11. See, it is ulta. If I enter 192.168.190, here you see it is ulta. In the below, if you see 190.168.192, it is coming because it is reverse lookup. You don't worry about that. Okay. Now say next, 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 and finish. See, now I have created a new reverse lookup zone here, which is my primary zone. Now you see you don't have any record for that PC01. Now I'll quickly go here, Microsoft.com, and right click on the PC01. Go to property of it. When you go to the properties, you can see an option called update the associated pointer record. Pointer record means it's a reverse lookup record. So means for forward lookup we call it as host record. For reverse lookup we call it as pointer record. Okay, now let me update the associated pointer record. If you apply and say OK and then come to this newly created zone and refresh it, that will be populated here. See, can you see 192.168.190.111? It is a pointer record because it's a reverse lookup. And what is the name? PC01. Got it? Now let me go to the command prompt and again run the same command called ns lookup 192.168.190.111 and hit enter. Now you see the name of the computer. See, you got the resolution. What is the resolution? The name of that IP address is pc01.microsoft.com. Got it? Got it?
Yes, sir.
Now, say for example, you don't want to call this PC01 as PC01 because maybe in that you may have some application, not the PC DC01. Okay, this DC01 is there. No, you don't need to call this as DC01. What you can do, you can create alias records. Alias means other name. Correct. No matter your friends would have. I mean, you also have some friends. Their name will be something, but you call him as something else. So, how to do that? Right click, new alias or CNAME record, and you have to give alias name Facebook. Okay, and browse that DC01. What is the record? DC01. Microsoft.com. If you go down, you can see the DC01 here. See, DC01 is there. Select that record. Okay, what are you going to do? Whenever you call a alias name called Facebook, that should directly point out to the DC01 at Microsoft.com. I'll say OK. See, now you see I have created a record called Facebook. That is an alias record. What type of record it is? It is an alias record or CNAME record. So when you search facebook.com, that should get resolved to DC01. Means here DC01 means it is 192.168.190.50. Now let me check and go to the command prompt and run a command called Facebook. Hit enter. ns look up space Facebook. If you enter, you will see both the things. Facebook, ns lookup.
Double B is there, sir.
Where?
FACE double B double O.
Exactly, correct. Thank you. See, it's a good point. Now I noticed that there is some spelling mistake. Since it is a primary zone, I can just go and correct that. Double B. See, I can just correct that. Not possible. 1 minute. Why it is not happening? Okay, no problem. Let me go here. Okay, so F double B only I'll put. I'll explain that. Okay, FACEBB. Okay. See, now you can see the resolution. Correct now? When you type Facebook, that is indirectly opening DC01. Okay, and it is also telling the alias name is facebook.com. See, facebook.microsoft.com. This is what alias name means. Okay, now since I have this PC01, the IP address of the PC01 is wrong. See here 192.168.111.131 is there, but here 190.111 is there. Okay, so what I will do, I would like to correct it 111.131. Since this is a primary zone, I am able to edit. I told you, primary zone means it will have all the records and it has got read and write permission. It is also authoritative. So now you know authoritative because when you say ns lookup Facebook, it is giving you results. And since it is I told you it is a read, you can create a record, and I told you can modify the record. That's what I'm doing it. 192.168.111.131. Apply OK. Okay, now it got updated. See, it got changed. After some time this will also got changed. This will also get changed here also. See, it went off. After some time, it will also get populated here. Okay. So if you want to make it quickly, you can just go there and right click not Facebook, this one, PC properties. It will just uncheck, apply, and update, done. So reverse lookup. You know why it went off? That is not in the 192.168.192 domain. That is 192.168.131.131 means that is a different subnet. So now what I have to do, I have to create a new zone here. Primary zone, say next. IP address got changed now. The complete address itself got changed. 192.168.111.131 is there. So now if I just say finish, and if you go here, now you can see the NS record will come here. So go to the microsoft.com, PC01, properties, uncheck and check it. It will take some time, but if you go manually, it will just quickly comes here. See, it came pointer record. See here, it is 192.168.190 is there, but here 192.168.111 is there. Okay, that is the reason that record went off from here, because that is a different subnet altogether. So that's a different zone altogether. Okay, that's what. Now you got some idea on the DNS, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes.
that's what I
Yes, sir.
told. So now you understood primary zone, secondary zone, okay, and stub zone. Stub zone means, I told you, right? Stub zone means it is a copy of the primary zone, but it will not have all the records. It will only have A record, NS record, and SOI record. A means you already know, for the host, forward lookup zone. NS means name server. SOI means start of authority. Start of authority means the DNS server will have the replication from one server to another server. So that SOA means how frequently that DNS replication or the synchronization should happen. By default, it is 15 minutes. I would like to show you that. Okay. Right click on this Microsoft.com, go to properties, that's the zone, right? Go to properties and you see start of authority. Click on the start of authority and it says the refresh interval is 15 minutes. See, every 15 minutes it will try to talk to the other DNS server in the domain, and if there is any new record got created, it will pull the information from there and it will keep in the cache. Okay, that is what the refresh interval. Okay, see, and name server, see all the name servers available, only DC01 is there because only one domain controller is powered on now, that's the reason. Okay, that is about the DNS resolution and the zones. So what else is there in the slide? We'll see. Yeah, the same thing, records. We have multiple types of records there, but predominantly 7 major records are there. Okay, the first one is A record and AA record. A means it's a host record. For the computer, for the servers, and for the domain names, we create host record. Okay, and pointer means it's a reverse lookup. Means if you want to create a reverse lookup entry, okay, to resolve from IP to host name, you create PTR records. You have seen already. NS means name server, CNAME means alias. And SOA also have explained. SOA means start of authority record. Means it is a DNS refresh interval. And we have MX record. MX means mail exchange server record. Means in your office you have mail servers. So for each mail server there will be a record got created. We call that record as mail server record, mail exchange server record. Okay, and then the last one is SRV record. So SRV record means it is a service relocator record. Means if you want to locate a service in the domain, so this service or SRV record will be helpful. Okay, if you want to know the key license manager, means say for example in the corporate world it is very difficult to maintain the licenses. Means you have 10,000 laptops, 2,000 servers. What happens when you use this server? The tracking of the license is very difficult. That is why we will bring in the service called KLM, Key License Manager Service. Means you will just install a service called KLM and tell the KLM service stating that whatever server comes to the network, and if they ask for the volume license, I mean the license keys, just give it to them. That I will tell the pool like 1 to 1000 numbers are there, licenses are there. You please give the respective license to the each and every computer whenever there is an ask. That time what happens, for each computer there will be a license will be assigned by the KLM. So what happens, whenever there is a server newly joined to the domain, whenever it gets joined to the domain, the with the presence of this KLM record, it will understand, yes, there is a KLM service, I can talk to this person and get the license for me. So that is how it is helping you to locate a particular service available in the domain. That is called as SRV record. So these are all the five major records in the DNS. Okay, and the last one is root hints. See, any domain for the root hints means these are all the high level DNS servers, guys. Okay, root hint shares the, I mean, root hints are the DNS servers on the internet. Means like you have .dns, .gov, .in, .au, .private, .limited, .com, .in. All these things are there. No, these are all we call it as the publicly available routines or the DNS servers. Okay, so routines are the DNS servers which are available in the internet. So this .com, .in, all these things are there. We call them as top level domains. You can see here the root domain is dot. If you just put that is a dot means that is a root domain. After that we have top level domain that edu, com, gov, military, congress, sales, all those things are there. They are all the top level domains. Under that we have secondary like OUs. I told you yesterday. Microsoft.com, under that a OU called India, under that a OU called Bangalore, under that a OU called IT, right? So this is the hierarchy of the DNS. So any question here? So root,
Uh,
yeah,
sir, okay, okay.
yeah, Shashank, go on.
Sir, actually, in the real time, where we gonna apply this all the things like that is like getting the domain to IP address and IP address to domain name, like where we exactly apply these things in real time.
See, that's what I told you. So whenever you create a new computer or whenever you create a new server, okay, that server means in that server you will have an application, correct? Huh?
Okay,
So you never call the server with the server like server 01, server 02, server 03. You never call in the real time. Maybe say for example you are running an SAP application. In the SAP
okay,
maybe ECC, CRM, okay,
yeah,
PI, that kind of
yes,
applications are there. You may already know, correct? Na?
yeah,
So we will
yeah,
call that particular server as okay ECC server, CRM server, okay,
okay,
PIPO channel server, like that.
okay,
Okay, to resolve that particular server named to that application server, you need to have this DNS.
okay,
Got
okay,
it?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So see this Facebook, let me show you here. So go to the command prompt, okay, and if you type ns lookup and facebook.com, okay, see whatever this IP address is there now, this is the server IP address where this Facebook application is hosted. Maybe the IP address of the server is this one, but inside that we have hosted an application. The application name is Facebook. Correct, right? Now, how it, yeah, somebody said hello. Okay, see, the facebook.com means it is a name, and you are going to, you are going to access a application called facebook.com, but the DNS will help you to convert this facebook.com into either IP version 6, this bigger IP address, or the IP version 4. So in the real time, and the actual name of this server can be different, Shashank. This face actually the server name is not facebook.com. Maybe the this is the application name. Okay,
Okay,
but the server which is hosted this Facebook application may be like server 01 or server 02. You normally not talk in the server name, you talk in the application name. Okay, see here nowhere we are talking about the application server name. We are only talking about the application name, correct? Na? So user will try to browse facebook.com, not the server 01.
yes, sir.
Got it? That is why this DNS will be helpful. See, don't, since you guys, 1 minute. So the next one is forwarder. Okay, forwarder means these are the next level DNS servers, we call it as. Means, say for example, you are in an office and you are trying to browse www.facebook.com. But the DNS server, whatever you have added, that is your internal DNS server. Means whatever applications are within your application, within your office, that will be resolved. But this Facebook is not within your application. It is a public facing internet. I mean internet facing application. Correct? Huh? It is a public facing application. To access that, you need DNS. What is the DNS? Public DNS. Okay, let me go here. I'll go to the DC01 only. Okay, and I'll go to Microsoft, sorry, Internet Explorer. Okay, so now I'll try to do facebook.com. I'll show you some real time things now. Okay, so now you are trying to, sorry, wrong is there, facebook.com. See, I'm trying to open the website called facebook.com. Unfortunately, I'm not able to resolve it because my computer is not able to get the IP address of this facebook.com. Why? Because the DNS server, whatever I have added, now this DNS, this doesn't have the Facebook. Let me delete this one, otherwise it will get confused. So see, now it is not. It says this page can't be displayed. Now what I'll do, I'll go to the DNS, right click on this forward lookup zone, sorry, Microsoft.com, the primary zone, go to properties, not this DNS, I have to right click this DC, go to properties of it, and you see here forwarders. So in the forwarder, what I will do, I'll try to add Google's DNS server 8.8.8. This is the last resort. 8.8.8 is the last resort. It will just check. Say, for example, in your environment, it has got 10 DNS servers, and all the 10 DNS servers are added preferred, alternate, alternate, alternate. One is preferred, remaining 9 are alternate DNS server. After checking in all the 10 DNS server, then the last resort is this 8.8.8.8. It will just come and ask this computer stating that, do you know this person? 8.8.8. Let me firewall cpl. Let me turn off the firewall here. Sometimes that is also, see, firewall is on. Let me power off, turn off, turn off, turn off. Okay, so this is done now. Unable to resolve. Why? 8.8.8.8. Validating. Unable to resolve. So what I will do, I'll just come here only and I'll put it in the DNS server itself. Wait. So Microsoft.com is there. Now go to TCP/4 and here I'll just add 8.8.8.8. Okay. Now if I go here, so what happens now? Because see here I have not enabled the communication between my base machine to the VM. So this virtual machine doesn't have connection. Okay, between the base machine, which is my base machine. Okay, that is why I'm not able to resolve it facebook.com. Okay, but in the real time, if I have the connection between my virtual machine to the base machine, okay, then it will just go and give the required result there. Okay, so yeah, so that what happens, now let me explain that. Wait, yeah, so what happens, it will just check in all the 10 DNS servers available. In my example I said there are 10 DNS servers in my example. So the facebook.com will be first checked in all the 10 DNS servers. It is not finding any result. Then the last resort is this forwarder. Okay, in the forwarder, I've added the Google's DNS IP address 8.8.8.8. Since I don't have communication with my base machine, it is not resolving. Otherwise, it will say google.com. Okay, so apply OK. Then it will come and ask this Google's DNS 8.8.8. Do you know this person called Facebook? Then he will tell, yes, I know a person called Facebook. Okay, that is when the query will be getting forwarded. So sometime what happens, he will tell, no, I don't know Facebook, okay, but I know .com. I have a person called .com. You please check with him if we can have Facebook. The reverse lookup it happens. I mean, uh, in the reverse wise, it is trying to resolve. It will not ask for the Facebook. It will ask. It will the forwarder will tell, I don't have a person Facebook, but I have a person called .com. You can go with him and check whether the Facebook is there in it or not. That is how the reverse engineering we will call it as no the same thing. Then he will just search Facebook and give the complete resolution. So that is called as top level domains and the forwarders. This is the forwarders. Forwarders means these are the servers which they forward our DNS query to the relevant DNS servers. Conditional forwarder means based on some condition. Say for example, in your query, if I find Sony, okay, if the query is getting ends with Sony or contains Sony, then forward this to particular DNS zone. That is called as conditional forwarder. Conditional forwarder means based on some condition, the the query will be keep on gets forwarded to particular DNS server. That is called as conditional forwarder. Okay. And some of the important commands like ns lookup, Facebook for forward lookup, ns lookup IP address for reverse lookup, and ipconfig display DNS and flush DNS. So these are all the couple of the IP commands. Let me show you ns lookup. Sorry, yeah, ns lookup facebook.com. This is my forward lookup. ns lookup 157.240.192.35 is my reverse lookup. See, it is a red server. It's a net server, facebook.com. See, and then ipconfig slash display DNS. If you want to see what all this resolution happened in the recent, you can just give, see, all this resolution happened in the recent. Without my knowledge, there are a lot of resolutions happened. See, you can see all whatever resolution happened in the recent, all those will be stored here. There are a lot of records. So sometimes what happens, you have to remove the DNS, flush DNS. When do we need flush DNS? I'll tell you. Say for example, the application has got a different IP address earlier, like 192.168.1.10 IP address was there, and after some time the IP address got changed due to some application level configuration. They have changed the application IP address to 1 dot, instead of 10 they made it 11. So this DNS, since you already opened the application, the resolution information will be cached here in the computer. This computer now understand Facebook means it is 192.168.1.10 only, because that cache is there in this cache. So if you just clear that cache, flush the DNS, what happens, it will again go and talk to the DNS server and get the latest value, which is 1.11. In such cases you have to do this ipconfig flush DNS to resolve the what is that, internet related issues. Okay, so that is about the commands and all.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all about the DNS. 1 minute.